In today's YouTube video, I'm giving you guys the top 5 meta guns you guys should be using after the Season 5 Reloaded update. There was a ton of buffs and very few nerfs today, so I'm really excited that we got a lot of good guns to go over. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe as notifications turned on. Shout out to Noti Gang on screen, and let's hop into this. Our very first gun today we're going to take a look at is going to be the M4, and our first attachment on this thing is going to be the Komodo Heavy Muzzle. So this is going to help us out with that horizontal recoil control. The gun does like to bounce around here a decent bit, so we have to be able to control that horizontal recoil and vertical recoil as well, which we will tune it out here for recoil control. And speaking of that, the tuning is going to be a plus 0.75 for that recoil stabilization and a plus 0.29 there on the bottom. Now we're gonna go up in here and run the high tower 20 barrel. So this is the barrel we run on all of our M4 builds to make this thing as effective as it possibly can be. So recoil control, damage range, bullet velocity, and hipfire accuracy. This is pretty much the tried and true standard here for this setup and this gun. The tune on that is gonna be a plus 0.19, a plus 0.22. Now we're going down here and run the F-Tac Gripper 56. So this is once again another attachment we've ran so many times on our assault rifle builds, but aiming out of stability, hipfire accuracy, and recoil stabilization. This is gonna be a really fun gun to use. By the way, guys, one of my favorite ARs personally to be able to use besides the Kastov 7.62, but this is seriously such a good gun. The tune on that is gonna be a plus 0.28 and a minus 0.28 there on the bottom. Now we're gonna go down here and run the 60 round magazine. So the 60 round mag, I'm a 60 round mag kind of guy, so that's kind of what I like to go for anyways, but you definitely need the larger magazine when it comes down to this gun, or even a large majority of the assault rifles in Warzone. You should be using the larger magazine size, so I'd highly recommend you guys do that. And then for our last attachment, we're gonna go up in here for the AMOT V4. So this is a precision sight that we've ran on so many of our builds here, much like the F-Tac Ripper. This just works out great. You guys can also switch this out for something like the SC Recharge. If you want to go that route, you'll get a tad bit more accuracy out of it, but your gun's gonna be a little bit slower. It's not really gonna be noticeable. It kind of really just comes down to a personal preference thing. It's not gonna make or break the build. I've had a lot of fun using the SC Recharge and of course the AMOT V4. It's really personal preference for your sight. And the tune on that is going to be minus 1.65, and all they maxed out there on the bottom, that far distance, pushing as far away from me as possible, kind of helps eliminate some of that visual recoil. But that's my full build there for the M4 in Season 5 Reloaded. Next up, we're taking a look at the Vel 46 and our first attachment for the Vel 46, as this got a buff as well. By the way, all the guns in here did get a buff within today's update, which is kind of wild because a lot of these guns were actually pretty decent already and fun to use, so now they're going to be even better. But this attachment is the 1MW quickfire laser, so this is going to give us that increase in aim down sight speed. We really like that. Obviously, it's an SMG. You got to be able to ADS and be quick, and the more you ADS, I mean, obviously the more shots you're going to land. Hopefully, as long as your aim permits, you're not missing your shots, but that's just going to help you hopefully get more shots on target as opposed to hip firing. But the tuning on this is going to be minus 0.24 and a minus 34.55 there on the bottom. Then we're going to go down here and run the 4.6 millimeter frangible rounds. And what this is going to do is it's going to delay their healing. So when someone's basically one shot, it's going to keep them one shot for a little longer time, which can be pretty useful. Same with like the hollow point, which disables their sprinting for a short time. Both of these are really good and actually super annoying to play against. So I'd recommend you guys use either or of them. The tune on that is going to be a plus 0.50 and a minus 5.52 on the bottom. Now we're gonna go down here and run the 50 round mag. So the Vel is actually pretty cool because it comes with a 40 round mag stock. So that's actually pretty solid, to be honest with you. But we definitely need to bump that up a little bit because you're not really gonna get hardly any penalty. And having 50 rounds in a magazine and an SMG can come in super clutch because, I played a lot of trios and quads. So having extra rounds in the magazine is something that is hugely beneficial. And so I'd recommend for you guys to do that. Don't need to go for that 60. I just don't believe that to be necessary. It's going to slow you down a little bit too much. We want peak mobility out of our SMGs because that's pretty much what you run around the map with, is you run around with your SMG for more mobility, not your AR, LMG, etc. So that's why we have that. We're not going to go for that 60. It's going to slow us down a little bit too much. But now we're going back here for the ZLR combat grip. So we really don't have an underbarrel, a muzzle, a barrel for that matter. So we have to stabilize the gun out a little bit somehow, some way. And that's what the ZLR combat grip is going to do for us. It's going to give us a little bit of that recoil control, which comes in pretty handy. The tune on that is going to be minus 0.32 and a minus 0.17. Now we're going up here for our last attachment. That's going to be the Demo RTX stock. So crouch, movement speed, sprint speed, and aim down sight speed. This is a beautiful attachment to help us round out our builds here for this update. So I mean, this is just a great attachment. I've been running this build here particularly for a little bit, but it's just gotten significantly better ever since the update. But the tune on that is being minus 1.42 and a minus 1.70. And this is my full build here for this gun. Definitely recommend it. Next up, we're taking a look at the Tempest Razorback. So this is a very low recoil assault rifle and pretty solid damage range and everything like that, damage profile, but it got a big buff here within the update, making it more effective those closer to medium-ish ranges. So you're still going to be just absolutely taking people out, frying at those medium-ish ranges, which is awesome. So let's hop into it. So first attachment is that Harbinger D20. This can give us that sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, recoil, smoothness, pretty much all the above good things here we want out of this gun. The tune on that is going to be a plus 1.08 and a minus 0.35 on the bottom. Now we're going to go up in here and run the 16 Tanker V barrel. So this gives us that increase in recoil control and bullet velocity. One of the things here on this gun that really does make this thing an absolute laser beam is the Tanker V barrel, because this thing, when you can land those shots, it is incredibly satisfying when you're just able to have an absolute laser that's got a high fire rate. I'm telling you what, there's not that many guns in this game that are super satisfying to be able to use, but this is one of them, and so definitely recommend y'all actually use this barrel. The tune on that is going to be a plus 0.13 and a plus 0.12 on the bottom. And we're going down here for the DM Proto Grip. So this attachment is at the very far end of the underbarrel section. It's literally the last thing in here, and it's probably something people don't ever go for, but the DM Proto Grip is pretty much almost unique to this gun, but the aiming idle stability, horizontal recoil control, and recoil stabilization benefit is also one of the things we combine with that tanker barrel that gives it that zero recoil feel. So highly recommend you use this over anything else. The tune on that is going to be plus 0.31, a plus 0.25. And now we're going to go down here and, of course, throw on that 60-round mag. Once again, do not recommend the 45 or the smaller magazine for an assault rifle. Always go for the bigger one, which is the 60. I don't really ever recommend going for something above like a 60, like a 70, 80, 100, something like that. I mean, obviously, it's an LMG. That's the only way that's really possible. But even then, you really don't need to equip a magazine onto any of those either. We just increase it to basically about that 60-round mark, and that's good for all primary assault rifles. And then for our last option here, that's going to be the SC Recharge. So I was talking about this between the aim op and the SC Recharge. You can pretty much do what suits you best, what you feel is best for the gun. It's not going to matter too much. I'm just running the SC Recharge on this particular build here. But the tune on that is going to be a minus 2.03, and all the way maxed out for that close distance here. Just because I wanted to be able to see a little bit more. It's one of those things where I just was trying it out. It's not also going to make or break your build based on close or far. That is also another personal preference thing. But that's my full build there. The Tempest Razorback is incredible here after the update. For our fourth gun here today, we're taking a look at the Bass P. So this also got a substantial buff in pretty much every aspect of it. It's actually probably got the biggest buff out of anything in the game. But now we're gonna give you guys the build for it to make it more effective at being a great SMG. So first attachment here is gonna be the 6.5 Bruin Drake. This is gonna give us that benefit to our aim down sight speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. You do have some cons in there, but this is kind of like how I equate this out to how everyone was running that one barrel on the ISO 45, which actually technically decreased your damage range a little bit, but it was really great for your movement. That's pretty much what we're doing for this gun here today, or on this particular build. We just kind of are doing that. I mean, you're not going to notice that damage range drop off like hardly at all. It's going to be very minimal, but that's why we have this on here. The tune on that is going to be minus 0.29 and minus 0.22. Now we're going to go up in here and also run the 1MW quickfire laser to increase our ADS speed. Obviously, got to increase our ADS speed here with this gun. I mean, it just makes sense to be able to actually have that, maxed out. I mean, the more you ADS, the more accurate you're going to be as long as you're hitting your shots. The tune on that is going to be minus 0.32 and a minus 32.90 on the bottom. Now we're going to go down here and run the 50-round drum. This comes with 30-round stock, which is not acceptable to run on a loadout gun. So we need to go for the 50-round mag, and that's pretty much the only option there is in there that actually makes sense. Now we're going on back to the rear grip section. We're going to go for the D37 grip to give us a little bit of recoil control, because the Bass P likes to bounce around, and especially when you really mobility something up, when you just increase the mobility of a gun, you just end up getting a lot more recoil. So we got to stabilize that a little bit, which is what the D37 is going to do. The tune on that is going to be minus 0.52 and a minus 0.28. Now we're going to go over on the Bruin Flash V4 stock for our final attachment for that increase in sprint speed, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed. So this is a great stock that's not going to really mess up the gun at all. If you run that stockless mod, you're going to get, obviously peak mobility, but the gun's really going to be hard to control, so I don't really recommend that. So the Bruin Flash V4 stock is going to be a great one, and the tune on that is going to be a minus 2.97 and a minus 0.85. So that's my full BAS-P build here after the update. And last but definitely not least here, today we're going to be taking a look at the M13C, not the M13B, but both of the M13s actually got buffs, but the M13C is the gun that I think was significantly weaker, and it needed those buffs a lot more so. So that's why we have this on here today. So the Harbinger D20 is our first attachment. You guys kind of know what it does, so I'm not really going to explain it since we've used it a couple times here already. The tune on that is going to be a plus 1.17, a minus 0.35. I'm going to go up in here and run the 14 Bruin Echelon barrel. So we get the increase in damage range, hip fire accuracy, bullet velocity, and movement speed. By the way, the buffs on this particular gun definitely buffed it out from the closer to mediumish range. So that's why we're not going to be aiming for a super long range build, but you really can't go for super short range either because, well, this gun probably still needs a tad bit of work, but it's overall a lot better. The tune on that is going to be a plus 0.27 and a plus 0.26. I'm going to go down here, run the F-Tac Gripper 56 here. Once again, you guys kind of know what this does. Standard underbarrel to be able to run on any assault rifle. The tune on that is going to be a plus 0.28 and a minus 0.26. Got to go down here, run the 60 round mag. So this is one of those guns that, depending how you run it, I can see you getting away with a 45 round mag. So I have the 60 on here just because I feel like I can waste bullets with this gun like no tomorrow. But you could definitely go for the 45 if you kind of want to alter some of the stuff on here for a little bit more sniper support, not as much AR. I mean, it is an AR and we kind of build it out like one, but if you're trying to kind of use it like how you would like a Chimera, which is not really an assault rifle, it's kind of like a hybrid, then you can probably go for that 45 round mag and be all right there. But then our final attachment on this gun here today is going to be the Cronin Mini Pro. So I was running like an AMOP before on this thing, and I've tried to run the SC Recharge, but I do not believe that this is a good gun to be able to be picking people off for those longer distances. I'm talking like medium range to close range is probably your best bet on this thing. So the Cronin Mini Pro kind of just seems like it's the best fit for that. That's my go-to red dot of choice, primarily because it's the blue dot red dot. But my tune on that is going to be a minus 2.42, and all they maxed out for that far distance there on the bottom. So that's my full build there. That has been my top 5 here after the update. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe with notifications turned on, and of course, check out this other video on screen. I'd really appreciate that, and I'll see you guys next time.